Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to Lamplight City. And in the last episode, we had Occult Instruction with Wretch Plays, which I hope you guys enjoyed. We read all the books here in the bookcase of the Spectre Society. We need to go ahead and have a chat with Angela Maxwell, and then go have a chat with, what was his name again? Yeah, we need to confront Arthur Devons about the voodoo practice, now that we know what the bag of ash and chicken bones were for. But before that...
Could I ask you about some things, Miss Maxwell?
Certainly, darling.
What can you tell me about the Spectre Society?
Where to begin? I formed this club 2 years ago, right after I moved to New Britannia. During our meetings, we discuss our experiences with paranormal phenomena and organize investigations.
What sort of investigations?
We look into places all around the city which have been reported as haunted. New Britannia is teeming with the spirits of those killed during the French and British takeovers of the city. Not only that, but there is a prevalence of mystic religious practices here in Gascon, brought over by immigrants from the Antilles.
Fascinating.
There are plenty of books on the subject over there in the bookcase, if you're interested in learning more.
Already did.
Do you know anything about the kidnapping of Charles Harris?
I'm afraid I haven't heard anything about any kidnappings, darling. If you wish, I can commune with the spirits and see if I can help locate your missing person.
That won't be necessary, Miss Maxwell, though I appreciate the offer.
Probably wouldn't be admissible in court.
I spoke with Henrietta Davis, and she mentioned one of your other members, Linda Walker. Can you tell me anything about her?
Linda. Poor dear. Of all our members, she is the one I feel for the most.
Why is that?
She's had a tragic life, but I believe the Spectre Society has helped her greatly. Not only has she made a good friend in Henrietta, she's also dealt with her grief in a positive way. She has devoured my collection of books, educated herself on many subjects. I would say she's become an expert on clairvoyance and metempsychosis. It's always nice to know that the club can help those who have suffered.
Do you see her often?
Yes, she comes by about once or twice a week.
What can you tell me about Linda and Henrietta's friendship?
It's so lovely to see them together at the meetings. They're practically inseparable. It's quite sweet. They often leave messages for each other in the guest book. When Linda found out that Henrietta was taking care of an infant, she even gave her a toy bear for the child. I remember Linda lighting up with excitement when she asked about him. She really loves children. It's such a terrible shame about... But please, let's discuss something more pleasant, shall we, darling?
Let's go ahead and keep on that line of questioning.
What's this tragic story about Linda you mentioned?
Oh, dear. I probably shouldn't say.
Miss Maxwell, I'm going to be frank. I'm investigating a kidnapping, and Mrs. Walker is a person of interest. I need to know as much about her as possible to help me solve this case. Do I make myself clear?
Well, if it will help, Linda was married to a man named Thomas. Together, they had a son named Alexander. Thomas revealed himself to be a terribly cruel man. When he gave himself over to the drink, he would fly into rages and beat both Linda and the boy. One day, she came home to find both her son and husband dead.
My God, what happened?
The police ruled it a murder-suicide. Poisoning, apparently. Linda has been trying to make contact with Alexander's spirit for the past year or so, but has had no luck. It really is a terrible tragedy.
Clue added.
I'm sorry, what was it you said? Madam Psy, what?
Metempsychosis, darling. It's a philosophical term which comes from ancient Greece. It refers to the transmigration of the soul after death.
Is that anything like reincarnation?
Essentially, yes. There's a book on the subject over in the bookcase, which can tell you far more than I possibly could.
And Linda's an expert in that. Okay. I think... Let's get the rest of this down.
Do you know Linda Walker's address?
I'm afraid not, darling. Linda has always been somewhat private, and that's not something I consider to be crucial information.
Do you know any way I can find her?
You could always come back for our next meeting. It will be the first Thursday of next month.
By then, we'll have completely lost track of Charles. There has to be another way of finding Linda.
What made you decide to start up this club?
I began communing with the spirits at a very early age. My twin sister, Rachel, died after falling into an icy pond when we were 8 years old.
I'm very sorry, Miss Maxwell.
Oh, I appreciate your sympathy, darling, but don't feel too bad. Rachel began speaking to me shortly after that. She has served as my spirit guide ever since.
Spirit guide? You mean you still speak with her?
Oh, yes. Every day. In fact, I was just speaking with her before you arrived. As I grew older, I realized there were others in the world who were also able to communicate with spirits, and those who had an interest in what lies beyond the ether. And so, once I moved to New Britannia, I decided to start up this club so we could gather and share our experiences.
Do you suppose she can hear what I'm saying? Hey, Angela, try a bit less eyeshadow, would you? You look like a purple raccoon.
Ouch.
Nothing. Clearly a fraud. Ah, well.
Though I've always been fascinated about the link between twin siblings.
I was wondering,
Yes?
when you communicate with the spirits, are you able to stop?
If I wish them to leave me, yes. I bid them farewell, and they usually depart back into the ether.
What about the more persistent ones?
You do remember I'm right here, don't you?
Well, just between you and me. Those spirits are best dealt with by having the other kind of spirits. Quiets them right down.
I prefer soporific myself.
Oh? You hear the voices of the spirits as well, Mr. Fordham. But of course, now the reason for your visit to the Spectre Society is obvious. Do you see? All our paths eventually become clear. I'm glad yours has brought you here.
Oh, wonderful. Now she started rhyming. Don't get any funny ideas about telling her about me. She may be a lunatic, but that's no reason to expose yourself as one, too.
But do I get a membership card?
I don't hear the voices of all spirits, just one.
Miles, what are you doing?
Ah, you have a spirit guide. Please, tell me more, darling.
I wouldn't call him a spirit guide so much as a spirit nag.
This is a very, very bad idea.
Do you know who this spirit is?
Yes, it's my former detective partner, Bill. I shot him on our last case together.
You shot him?
He was on a roof being held at knife point by a burglar. They were too close. I took the shot, but missed, and hit my partner instead.
Oh my, you poor darling. Is he angry with you?
Currently?
Well, he is now. He doesn't think it's a good idea to tell others about him. But normally, he's the same as he was in life. He just wants me to find the man responsible for his death. I've told him I'm really the one responsible, but he insists it's the burglar.
I see. This is quite the unfortunate situation. My advice to you is this. Spirits often know best. You do well to listen to him about keeping his presence to yourself. Not everyone is as open-minded as we members of the Spectre Society.
Maybe I misjudged her.
I know. It's been hardest keeping this from my wife, but I can't drive her away. She's all I've really got left.
Your story has touched me, Mr. Fordham. I will do everything I can to help you and your spirit guide find peace. If I find anything out which might help you, I will contact you personally.
Thank you, Miss Maxwell. I appreciate it.
Well, that could have turned out much worse. I'm warning you, Miles. Tell anyone else about me, and I won't be so forgiving.
Thank you for the information. It was very enlightening.
It was my pleasure, darling.
She'll help us after the blackmail. Alright, so we got some clues there. She also said that they left messages for each other in the guest book.
There's quite a few members in this group.
We didn't see anything, though, did we? Angela, the meeting was wonderful. Anyone interested in youth spirit board? Linda, looking forward to having you over at the manor next week. Come around 8 p.m. and you can meet Charlie. Oh, hello there.
There's quite a few...
Okay, so that is Henrietta. Henrietta Davis. So here's what I'm thinking so far. I think that Linda could be our prime suspect. Arthur Devons doesn't seem to be... I think he already would have turned tail and run. Linda has a legitimate reason for wanting to take Charles, and it revolves the death of her son. Because if we remember, which one was that? Spontaneous combustion. On the metempsychosis, it's like the reincarnation, that when someone dies, the soul goes over to another creature. And Linda could be believing that when her son died, her son's spirit went into Charles. And that would explain her connection to Miss Davis and everything like that. So I think that might be the case. We're going to go ahead and talk to Devons first. And I actually do agree with Bill that we need to...
I'll be going now.
May the spirits guide you to that which you seek.
Keep things on the down low. Actually, we need to go back in there, and I don't think we looked at
Welcome back, Mr. Fordham.
The painting.
The plaque says Leonora Pattinson, seer. She looks like someone I would not want to fool around with.
That sounds pretty normal for you, though, Bill. Okay.
I'll be going now.
May the spirits guide you to that which you seek.
Just walk in, look at a painting, and walk out. Back to the Harris construction yard. Mr. Devons.
Mr. Devons?
Yes?
Do you practice voodoo, Mr. Devons?
What?
The chicken bones and dust you send along with your letters. It's a voodoo spell meant to cause bad luck in business. Quite a convenient solution, wouldn't you say?
I don't know what you're on about.
Come now, Mr. Devons. I'd appreciate it if you didn't think I was stupid.
All right, fine. I went to go see one of them magic women in Gascon. She told me about the spell and what I needed to do. I don't believe in the stuff, but I thought maybe if I used it, I could scare Harris enough to get him to stop making the new airship.
Well, I don't mean to be one to put a damper on your amateur witchcraft, but it doesn't seem to be doing you much good.
No, his grandson got kidnapped. That's not something I'd call lucky.
Good day to you, Mr. Devons.
You too, Mr. Fordham.
This Arthur Devons joker is bad news. Not only is he making threats to the Harris family, he also has the nerve to send a ransom note. We have enough evidence to pin the crime on him, I think. The police can deal with the headache of actually finding the baby.
Yeah, I don't think it's him, though. I like the fact that his friends can actually spell. Okay, so let's try... Went to the Spectre Society, the lending office. We can try the coffee house. Actually, is Henrietta the lady that... Hold up.
I'm here.
It's good to have you back.
Hello, darling.
Addie?
What do you need, dear?
Mrs. Delacroix? Well, first off...
I'd forgotten how good you are at écarté. You absolutely destroyed me the other night.
As I recall, you used to hold your own pretty well.
We should have another match soon. That way I can hone my skills.
Yes, we should. As long as you can concentrate, I'm sure you'll get as good as you used to be.
I wonder if this is innuendo.
You weren't kidding about business picking up. You're averaging what, about 3 appointments per day?
More like 5. I told you, debutante ball season's busy.
Doesn't it get tiresome?
Not really. You'd be surprised at the sort of gossip I hear from my clients. I don't know what it is, but they just open up to me and tell me all kinds of personal things. You sure you don't want me to give you a trim?
I'm fine for now, dear. Thank you.
I like the mop.
Addie, did you ever work with or meet a musician in Gascon named Roland?
Roland?
Yes, a piano player.
Oh, of course. That's gotta be Roland Devereaux. Yes, I know him. I'd just as soon never hear the name again, if I'm being honest.
That bad, huh?
He's just an arrogant little twerp. Completely full of himself, thinks he's God's gift to music. He really isn't very good. Misses notes like you wouldn't believe. Used to throw me off the few times I sang with him.
Well, he's a person of interest in my current case. Any idea where I can find him?
Last I heard, he was playing a regular gig at the Crimson Cat, but that was a few years ago. If he's not still there, they might know where he went.
Thanks, dear. That's incredibly helpful.
My pleasure.
Man, Adeli's very, helpful. And that's the boy toy to the wife, right?
I can't believe the nerve of that narrow-minded old cow.
Who, Mrs. Delacroix? She's actually one of my nicest clients.
I don't know how you can tolerate her. If I were you, I'd strike her off my list.
If I did that for every one of my clients who thought the same as her, I'd be out of a job. That's just the way it is.
Maybe so, but it doesn't make it any less infuriating. Have you ever heard of a group called the Spectre Society?
I think I had a client once who mentioned it. They're some kind of spiritualist group, right?
So it would seem.
I don't really know anything else about them, sorry.
How are things going with you?
I'm a bit worried about some rumors I've been hearing.
Oh?
They're saying it won't be long before automated hairdressing devices are available to the public. Once that happens, it's going to be tough for me to keep getting jobs.
Automated hairdressing devices? How would those even work? Do they read your mind?
Doubtful. More than likely they'll have some kind of settings or just give everyone the same type of hairstyle.
I wouldn't worry too much, Addie. You're the best hairdresser in town. I doubt people will place their trust in some contraption over you.
You underestimate my clientele, Miles. They're mostly all rich socialites whose hobbies are buying the most expensive and modern things just to outdo their peers. They'll be sending their servants to line up for days before the things are released.
Perhaps, but they'll come running back to you once the machines stop working. You'll see.
I certainly hope so.
I'll let you get back to your book.
You couldn't pay me, like, even if I did cut my hair on a regular basis, to trust any kind of machine to do it automatically. Hell's bells.
I'll see you later, Addie.
Don't work yourself too hard, dear.
Yes, ma'am. So can we go... the Crimson Cat Club.
The Crimson Cat. One of my favorite underground clubs. Ooh, I spent some wild nights here. Which reminds me, I wonder if Stefan is still working the bar these days.
I'll ask around for you, Bill. I can be a good wingman, even in death.
This place has been around for quite some time. That well-dressed feline is Red, the official mascot.
Young man?
Call me old-fashioned, but I've always felt the piano should be played by an actual human. These automated ones just don't have any soul. Looks like a view of Claremont Street with St. Denis Cathedral in the background.
Beer tap?
Looks like they've got Bollingworth, Millhopper, and Brooklyn Lager. Not a bad set of beers.
I like how they spelled Brooklyn.
Quite the selection. It rivals even the Angel. Good old Bollingworth Ale. Unlike so many other things in life, it never lets you down. Well, not while you're drinking it anyway. The next morning is another story entirely.
I was about to say.
Attention customers. Use of Dr. Tennyson's vigor pills while under the influence of alcohol may cause loss of consciousness. It's nice to see this establishment looking out for its patrons. Seagrave's Stasholine, high-quality mustache wax. You know, I always wondered what you'd look like with a mustache. Fine beer, always served here. Good to know.
All right, let's have a chat with the gentleman.
Excuse me, are you Roland Devereaux?
Who's asking?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. I wanted to ask you some questions.
Sure, whatever you say.
Oh, that smirk.
Are you acquainted with a woman named Miriam Harris?
Sure. Acquainted. That's definitely a word you could use. But then, I'm also acquainted with about 20 other women in this borough alone.
Fascinating. Could you tell me about Miriam, please?
Sure. That woman could talk the ear off a cornstalk.
Oh? She said you didn't talk much.
That's right, I don't. She talks plenty for the both of us. Always going on about how sick she is of the phony high society types, how glad she is to be with someone real. But hey, she's loaded. And she's pretty good in bed, so it's a nice little thing we got going on.
This guy's like a Law & Order Special Victims Unit villain.
Are you aware that Mrs. Harris's son was kidnapped last night?
What? Kidnapped?
Yes. Do you know anything about it?
No, not at all. I mean, I knew she had a son. She wouldn't shut up about him. Why would anyone take someone else's child voluntarily? Are people that desperate to have their own little brats?
I assume you're not a fan of children?
Let's just put it this way. I would rather have a hot poker shoved up my ass repeatedly than ever have to deal with a child.
Well, that's quite specific.
There is no way in hell I'm going to tie myself down and give up this great life of mine. If this lady's kid's been stolen, she'll probably leave her husband and want a replacement brat. I'm not gonna be that sucker, that's for sure. Thanks, friend. You've really opened my eyes. I think the time has come to exit stage left from Mrs. Harris's life.
You're a real piece of work, Roland.
Yeah, I know.
So, I take it you're a musician?
A musician? Am I a musician? Man, you insult me. Ask anyone who hears me tickle those ivories. They'll all tell you. I'm doing the Lord's work. I am more than just a mere musician. I have a purpose on this earth, and that is to move people, to bring joy to their souls.
And this is after you've set the piano back to manual, right?
I don't expect a layman like yourself to understand, least of all a private eye. Your job is exploiting people's misery. I don't know how you can even look at yourself.
Oh, it's fairly easy. But then I expect you've never gone more than 5 minutes without looking at yourself. I think that's quite enough for now.
It's about time.
Well, that was a lovely conversation. Let's never have it again. Now, let's check the casebook. Return to Upton and accuse Arthur Devons. Return to Upton and accuse Malcolm Harris. Find out who or what SS is. Okay. We still have the lending office. Let's head back to the Spectre Society real quick. I need to look at the guest book.
Welcome back, Mr. Fordham.
There's quite a few members in this group.
Linda, looking forward to having you over. Henrietta.
I'll be going now.
May the spirits guide you to that which you seek.
There's Miriam and Malcolm, but...
I'll let you know if I have any more questions, Mr. Harris. Sit tight, Mrs. Harris. I may have more questions for you later.
Ooh. Well, that's pretty much it here. Let's head back to the lending office again.
I don't think he's going to be of much help right now.
Noted. I'll head to Rouen Coffee House last. Let's head to Miss Davis again. Have a chat with her.
Hello again, Mr. Fordham.
I have some questions for you, Mrs. Davis.
All right.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Her name's Henrietta. I'm sorry. I was thinking, I was like, I just remember who Henrietta is.
Mrs. Davis, have you ever had Linda visit you at the Harris Manor?
Oh, no, of course not.
Then would you care to explain your note to her in the Spectre Society guest book?
Please, Mr. Fordham, I didn't mean to lie to you. It's just that it gets so lonely by myself in the house at night. So every now and then, I invite Linda to come over for tea and some company.
I see. And when was the last time this happened?
2 nights ago. Please don't tell Mr. and Mrs. Harris, Mr. Fordham. If they found out what I was doing, they'd have me dismissed without a reference.
I won't, but I'd very much like to speak with Mrs. Walker. Do you have any idea where I can find her?
All I know is that she works as a seamstress at a shop in Lyon, but I don't know the name. I'm sorry, I can't be of any more help than that.
Maybe that's what the SS stands for.
Thank you for your time, Mrs. Davis.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Clue added. Now, if she's a seamstress...
I'll be going now, Mrs. Davis.
May the spirits guide your path.
I don't think Adelaide would know. Let's head to Rouen and see if maybe Upton knows something. Need to make sure not to accuse the other two gentlemen.
Can we talk?
Go on, I'm listening.
Oh.
How's work going?
Hectic, as usual. Crime in this city seems to be getting worse and worse every day.
I suppose that's the price of progress.
God help us if they ever actually discover that ethericity stuff then. Things between you and Adelaide getting any better?
I'm really not sure. They haven't gotten worse, but things haven't been the same between us since Bill died.
Well, you need to figure things out, or everything is just going to explode in your face one of these days.
Thanks for the vote of confidence, Upton.
I'm merely speaking from experience. If I'd seen the warning signs of Harold sooner, it would have saved me quite the headache. At least your marriage seems like it's still worth saving.
Other case?
What's the other case you mentioned? The one you said was a higher priority.
Well, it seems we might have a mass murderer on our hands.
You don't say.
That's right. I didn't say because I shouldn't say. But so far, we've had 3 murders with a very similar MO in the past 2 months. Snelling is trying his hardest to keep it under wraps since the newspapers already caught wind of the first 2.
I don't envy the department there. I'm happy to stick with the missing persons and domestic disputes.
Okay, let's review.
Can we go over my current case?
Of course. What have you got?
I found this torn piece of fabric at the crime scene. It's got an emblem with some initials on it.
I recognize that emblem. It's from Solomon Stitching, a little tailor shop in Lyon.
Bam.
My ex-husband had several jackets from there.
Sorry to dredge up old memories, but do you remember where they're located?
I believe it's on the corner of Bonneville Street and Surratt Avenue.
Fantastic. You're helpful as always, Upton.
Excellent.
I found this button at the crime scene. The child's nanny identified it as the eye of his stuffed bear.
Did you find the bear at the scene?
No, the kidnapper must have taken it as well.
Interesting.
Either the kidnapper is very compassionate, or it's someone who knew the child.
Or someone who basically made sure that the child got the bear and then took it with them. I'll bet you money that it's Linda.
I spoke with Henrietta Davis, the Harris family nanny.
A sensible place to start. What did she have to say?
She claims to have been unconscious when the kidnapping took place.
She must be an extremely heavy sleeper.
I don't believe so. The way she described it made it sound like she was drugged.
Interesting. Definitely worth looking into, I'd say.
Have you ever heard of the Spectre Society?
I think so. They're some sort of ghost hunting club, aren't they?
A spiritualist group, yes.
Don't tell me this case has taken a turn for the supernatural.
Not exactly. It's just come up as a potential lead. Are you familiar with the term metempsychosis?
No, what is it?
Apparently some mystics and philosophers maintain that it's a process whereby human and animal souls are transferred to new bodies upon death.
Fascinating. Some people have such queer ideas. What's that got to do with the kidnapping, though?
I'm not exactly sure yet.
Sometimes I'm jealous of all the odd things you detectives get to look into.
That's enough about the case for now.
Okay.
That's it, I think.
Then you'd better get back to it.
Yes, indeed. We got a stitch shop to go to. I said this before, I like the fact that our contact is actually useful.
Good day to you, sir. Welcome to Solomon Stitching. I'm Jonah Solomon. Please, let me know if I can help you with anything.
Okay.
Isaac Samuels, the Prime Minister who freed the slaves. They say even his enemies wept on the day he died. I sure hope I get to meet him someday. It's quite the selection, but I doubt the typical clientele of this place buys off the rack.
Yeah, this definitely looks like a high society tailor shop. Kingsman, if you will.
That coat is so dull. I always prefer the ones with a bit more color. The design of that coat looks awfully familiar. This guy has been in business forever. My grandmother had one like that. I think it was meant to be relaxing, but it always felt like my time was running out. Now that it has Well, it actually is relaxing. Go figure.
I never found those things to be particularly relaxing. It caused me to have more anxiety, depending on my mood.
Impressive collection of pattern books. I wish I'd known about this guy when I was alive. I'd have asked him to make me a suit for my funeral. Judging from the position and the lock, this is likely where Mr. Solomon keeps his money. That cloth will be a garment soon. A vest, by the looks of it. Or maybe I'm completely wrong, and it's a treasure map.
Ooh, let's hope it's a treasure map, because that would be awesome. Alright guys, well, I think this may be a good place to go ahead and end the episode. We will start by talking to Mr. Solomon at the start of the next one, and try and figure out Linda's location, and hopefully wrap this case up unless there's any more twists and turns. But I really think that Linda, all the evidence in terms of the books and the beliefs and everything, the other two guys, it seems very cut and dry, but all the pieces are falling together with Linda. So I guess we'll see what happens. If you guys liked the episode, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. And we'll see you next time. Later days, everyone.